Okay, so here we're b'mamshich the ilazois. B'mamshich, he spoke about yesterday. We learned he was asking the question, which is greater, which is in a higher level, the Torah or the Yidden? And he brought seemingly conflicting sources. In some places, it seems that Yidden are even higher than Torah, and then in other places, it says that the Torah is higher than Yidden, that Yidden connect to Kodesh Baruch through Torah. And so he started to explain that the Yidden that are created, Hashem brought the Yidden into the world for the purpose he sows them into the world, which means the Eibishter created a world in which you don't see godliness. It's all through all the tzimtzumim. The world is created, and the Eibishter creates that just like when you sow one kernel, you get a lot of kernels, you get a lot of growth. A Yid, the Eibishter sowed him into the ground, and the Yid, through his avodah, changes around, and he brings by the revelation of Hashem. So he says, in the world of Atzilus, over there, you sense, godliness. But when you talk about the world in this world over here, you don't see godliness. And therefore, the ilazois, and therefore, Einei be'erech klal legabe oir havaye hameir umizgale be'olmos ha'elyonim shehu b'bchinas ein sof. So therefore, it is not compared at all, the light that comes into this world relative to the light which shines and revealed in the upper world, which is in a level of Ein Sof. He explains, Ein Sof means it's bligvul. It has no limit. It says even the greatest of numbers is relative to no number, relative to bligvul, is the same. Because bligvul isn't made up of numbers, and therefore the greatest number is still considered the same as the lowest of numbers relative to the level of bligvul. Ukiyadua, as it's known, shemispar echod legabe ribu revovis alofim yesh lo yerach, that number one, measuring relative to 10,000 there is a comparison. It's still something. 10,000 times are made up of ones. Because even 10,000 times 10,000 is also a number. No, but then what is, it's a large number. But that is when we're talking about numbers, something which is countable, which is gvul, which is numbered. But when you count something which has a limit relative to something which is unlimited, no end, has no comparison. You can't compare gvul to bligvul, and therefore umispar echod, umispar river, whether number when you have only one, or even if you have 10,000, shove mamish legabe b'chinas bligvul chulu, are all the same relative to the level of bligvul chulu. Ukameshakosu b'sefer shel beinanim perik memches ulazois. And therefore, so how could you have a limited, finite world of gavul? How could you have biyah, bri yitzirasiyas, ulezois iker chayusam einei elo mibchinas oire v'ziva bilvad? So therefore, their main energy of these worlds, the finite worlds, are only from the level of Hashem's shine and zibah, which is shu b'chinas malchusay bilvad. That's malchusay, Malchus kolei lomim, from the level of Malchus. Malchus is considered to be merely an oid and a ziv from the Ein Sof. That's the source of the oil mizbeach. However, but the Eibishter wants us to bring down Ein Sof into this world. That's why the Eibishter planted the Yidden into this world in Naguf in order for them to be mamshich. The Ein Sof should be a gilui in this limited world that Malchus only gives us a ha'ora and a ziv, and we should be able to bring down and reveal in the world the level of Ein Sof. Okay. However, bichdei sheyiyeh gilui oirin sof baruch hu lemato ba'olamois hatachtonim, in order that there should be a revelation of the infinite light, blessed be He, below in this lower worlds. Gam kein mamesh k'moshe hu ba'olamois elyonim, also as it is in the upper worlds. This is the ultimate, the goal of the intent of creating the world. So the Eibishter should have a dwelling place, dafke, over here in the world below. So there needs to be a world, there needs to be tachtonim, there needs to be a limited level. However, we have to be mamshich into this level from the Ein Sof. L'zois nizra bahem bechinas oir milmaylo. So that's why in this world the Eibishter sowed a level of this light of above. What is that? Behind the bechinas neshamas Yisrael. That is the level of the Jewish soul, that descend and dress up below in a body of flesh and blood. In order, through the Torah and the mitzvahs in action that they do in this world, Yamshichu bechinas gilui oirin sof baruch hu lemato be'olameyos hatachtonim. So they should draw down the level of the revelation of the light of the Ein Sof, blessed be He, below in the lower worlds. Gam kein k'moshehu be'olameyos elyonim mamish. Also in this world, as it is in the upper worlds, where there is a Gilui Ein Sof in Atzilus and higher. So we want that light, so that there should be a union, united the upper worlds and the lower worlds, just like in the upper worlds. They have that level of Iskalus of Vittel for the Ein Sof. They should not be in a level of separated worlds, in a way of Hester Ponim, of hidden Hashem's face, in which we can't tell. That's the way Olam Hazeh is on its own. But through the Yid's Torah mitzvahs, He creates that level that the godliness should be revealed in this world, and the world should not be separate and hidden face. As it says, and your master, your teacher, will not be hidden anymore. And this is the meaning of Zoreya Tzedakos Matzmiach Yeshuos. So here we're saying Zoreya Tzedakos, you sow tzedakah, you sow charity, and then you grow salvation. Pirush. What does it mean? Shall yidei tzedakah sheneishnim lemato laoni. Through the charity that we give here below in this world to a poor person. That's the Maisa HaMitzvahs. And all the mitzvahs are called B'Shem Tzedakah. But the Tzedakah, the ma'at you give Tzedakah to a poor person, the Lesle Garmei Klum, who has nothing of his own. Umashpia Lemokim Choshech. And then you give to a place which is dark. The pasuk in Tillim says it's like a cup charavis of destruction. So basically, we're in a place in which it's dark, it's destruction. We don't have. Like we say in the Olam Hazeh, we don't feel anything, don't have anything. But you're giving tzedakah to the poor person who doesn't have anything. So that way we arouse above also hamshochas oirensof baruchu lemato ba'olam esatachtonim, the draw down the light of the Ein Sof, blessed be He, below into this low worlds. If we give through the people that are destitute, Hashem gives the light to the world which is destitute, which are dark and worlds of separation. And this is the meaning of matzmiach Yeshuas. Zerei tzedakah is matzmiach Yeshua, makes sprouts for. Matzmicha means just not, when we say that it sprouts for, it means you get a lot more than what you sown. Matzmiach Yeshua shu bechinas tzmicha betoisves veribui. It is a growing with addition and much more liyos hamshochas shin ayin hey nehoidin iloin lamata. The 375, that's sho'ah, which it turns the 375 lights of above to bring it down below. Just as physically in charity, kol pruto mitztarefes lecheshbin godel, every pruta and pruta adds up and it makes a large amount. So the same thing is here. From all the tzedakah, from all the hamshoches that come down from the Eibishter, shenase mizeh from this becomes a revelation of the Ein Sof. That is called a cheshbon godel. Ein Sof, that's a big cheshbon. That's why it's called. We get the Gilui Ein Sof through the tzedakah that we do. We sow and we get a lot. Matzmiach Yeshuas. That kol pruto, it says mitzarefes lecheshbon godel. Look at it in the Dibur Hamaschil vayilbash tzedakah ka siryon. V'ayim mashekosu apostle yitaka b'shever godel. So one type of matzmiach Yeshua is that he gives you sprouts forth Yeshua is the 375 lights that it comes down through the tzedakah that is matzmiach Yeshua. The other type of Yeshua is Gam Yeshua's who meloshin sha'ah, he turns. Matzmiach Yeshua's, you make Hashem turn, sort of. What does it mean? The pasuk says, Vayisha Hashem el Hevel ve'el minchosai. God turned to Hevel and his gift, but ve'el Kayin ve'el minchosai lo sha'achulu. But he did not turn to Kayin and his gift. So what is the meaning that Hashem turned? Hashem turned means Hashem was drawn down. Shubechinas yiridas v'hamshochas gilui oirin sof baruch hu lamato. That is a descent and the drawing down of the Ein Sof, the light of the Ein Sof, blessed be He below. Al yidei Ha-mitzvahs ma'asiyos she'osim Yisrael lemato. Through the physical mitzvahs that we do in action, that Yidden do below, they are matzmiach Yeshua, turning the Shinayin Hey, the turning of Hashem, the Ein Sof below. Ulezois nikras kol hamitzvahs b'shem tzedakah stam b'Yerushalmi. In the Yerushalmi, when it talks about all mitzvahs, he calls them tzedakah stam, because tzedakah is one of the mitzvahs of the Torah, but all mitzvahs are called tzedakah, because the accomplishment of tzedakah, of all the mitzvahs, is like tzedakah to bring down a hamshocha bilmayla lamata. Zehu, and this is also the idea, shemitzvah rishoyna mitaryag mitzvahs, he mitzvahs pirya v'rivya, that the first mitzvah of the 630 mitzvahs in the Torah is the mitzvah to be fruitful and multiply. As the pasuk says, Ru urvu. Because we're learning now, that's the idea of tzimicha. Shu ribu v'toisvis. That is to add and make it a lot and add, which means that's the idea of mitzvahs, to bring down a lot of godliness into the world. And likewise, so that's why this is the first mitzvah, because the same thing is Ayidei kol hamitzvahs ma'asiyos she'osim Yisrael. Through all the practical, physical mitzvahs that the Yidden do, Naser ribui v'toisves chulu, this is pirya v'rivya, it becomes a lot and more added. V'zehu, and this is also the meaning of the pasuk Bein Poides Yosef. So Poides means like pirya v'rivya. Yosef means to add. So we call Yosef Bein Poides Yosef. Ki Yosef hu Tzadik Elyon. Yosef represents the level of Tzadik Elyon. Tzadik Elyon, that's in the level of Atzilus, the supreme Tzadik. Ukesiv Oir Zorua La Tzadik, that this light is sown for the Tzadik, so that the revelation of the Tzadik through this will get addition and lot. That Yosef is called Yosef al Shem. The Pasuk says Hashem will add again, and the Eibishter will smite over there the Egyptian, as the Navi talks over there, but you see, Yosef comes because of Shenis, and this is the idea of Bein Poides, the idea of Perivrius. Basically, the idea that the Eibishter wants us in this world is to bring about lots of Gilu Shechina, should be addition, should be fruitful and multiply, and Matzmiach Yeshua is by doing the mitzvahs, Zerei Tzedakos, you bring down the 375 Nahirin, or you bring down the Shah, so that also in this world of Biyah, there should be the same as it is in Atzilus, that just in Atzilus, everything is Bihiskalilus, also in this world there should be in Bihiskalilus. And then we will see that that's why we also will understand why the Neshamas Yisrael in some level are higher than the level of Torah, because this addition that they bring about, as the Alter Rebbe will continue to explain. But first, base, the Zehu Kavonas HaBrocha, this is the intent of the Brocha Shemevorchim Koidem Asiyas Kol HaMitzvahs. The meaning, the intent of the bracha that we make before we do all the mitzvahs. What do we say? We say, Baruch Ato Chulu Hashem Chulu, Asher Kidishonu b'mitzvahs Chulu. The word Asher means that you have sanctified us with the mitzvahs. But the word Asher can also mean pleasure. Asher means that when we do a mitzvah, we bring down Asher, we bring down the light of above, the level of Atzilus and beyond, the level of Tainug, through the mitzvahs. That's why we make it before we do a mitzvah, because through our mitzvah, we bring down the level of Tainug. Pirush, Asher hu loshen, the meaning of the word Asher, hu loshen Tainug. That's a language of delight. As the pasuk says, when she called him Osher, it says, "Be Oshri." I am fortunate. Ki ishruni bonus chulu. I am fortunate among the daughter when she also had, Leah also had Osher. So she said, I am fortunate. So the word Osher comes from the lashon fortunate and delight and pleasure. Shehu bechinas tainug ha'elyin. That Asher that we get from the mitzvahs, we're talking about the supreme delight. Shehu bechinas ein sof. That is the level of ein sof. It is such a powerful, infinite level, to the extent, as the Gemara brings down, the Alter Rebbe always brings down this Gemara, that Rabbi Meir said that with regards to Acher, his teacher Elisha ben Avuya, who became Acher, he left Torah mitzvahs and he couldn't go into Gan Eden. So our sages tell us with regards to Acher that mutav de ledainu velisi laolmo de osi. It's better for him to be judged and to go through the Gehenna. At least eventually should come to the world to come, because the world to come, the pleasure there is considered to be on a much higher level, because it's a level of Ein Sof. So how Asher Kidishono, how do we get this infinite level of Tainug into this world? It comes down through the fact that we do mitzvahs. Then we draw down the supreme delight into this world. But now he's going to say, okay, we're trying to sow, and the mitzvahs and the yid has been brought down into this world. And when the yid does the mitzvahs, that brings about the revelation of all the Ein Sof, the Tainug, and the Tainug Elyon into this world. However, before you can sow the ground, you also need to have the plowing of the ground. The plowing of the ground softens the ground, so that later on, when you sow, the earth will accept the kernel, and it shouldn't be washed away. You should be able to accept it. You need to soften the ground. Vihine, and behold, just like when you sow the kernel in the physical earth, you first need to plow the land well, in order to soften up the land. As we know, kicharisha mapi marpi aro, because the plowing softens the ground. If you're not going to soften the ground, then the kernel is going to get lost in the earth totally. It's not going to be useful. Likewise, when we talk about the yid doing mitzvahs and it has to plow before sowing. Before they start in the level of doing good, which is the hamshocha, the zriya, b'kiyum kol hamitzvahs ma'isi, is by fulfilling all practical mitzvahs. First, it has to be to stay away from evil. That staying away from evil That becomes the plowing for the animal soul, which means lahapich is called hamidis rois. Lahapich means to turn around, just like the ground is turned over. The charisha tills the ground. Lahapich is called hamidis rois, to turn around all the bad character traits. Ulevatel as kol haritzonis asher loy Hashem hema, and to negate all the desires that are not for Hashem. Veloy yiyeh leirotzen achar klal, should have no other wishes at all. Ki'im laHashem bilvad, only to Hashem alone. Liyois leiv nishbar v'nitke chulu, to be a heart which is broken, subdued, meaning to Hashem, instead of being in taivas, but he is humbled, and he is a realization of all these nefesh abamis tag, how worthless there is. So he is with a broken and humbled heart before Hashem. So once you have the charisha, once you have the plowing, then you can draw down later on to do good, which is Gilui Oir and Sof Baruch Hu Lemata, to bring down the revelation of the infinite light, blessed be He below. That is the growing that becomes with a dish of ribui, that you need the mitzvahs. That's the Asay Tov. Shenasa is Bechinas Hazriya Shel Nishames Yisrael. That comes about through the level of the sowing of the soul of Israel, Nishames Yisrael, the mitzvahs Ma'asyos Sha'isum Lamata Chulu, by the actual practical mitzvahs that they do, the mitzvahs and actions that they do below. So therefore we have, as he explained, we have both. We have the Zriya, that's the Asay Tov, that you have to do good. But that has to follow first. You need to stay away, Surmeira. And that means to plow and to force yourself to take away the bad midos of the Nefesh HaBahamis, and to turn them around to only be wanting Hashem. And this is the reason also why we say Hashem did not turn to Cain and his gift. Why? Because Cain did not have, the gift was the Asay Tov, but he was lacking the Sur Meira. He was a master of anger. He was More de Rugzin. Shaloi Hoyo Bevchina Sur Meira. He wasn't in the level of staying away from evil. Lapich is called Hamidis Rois, to turn around all the bad emotion, which is the level of Charisha. He didn't have that plowing. He didn't have that Sur Meira. That's why he wasn't able to draw down the light of Hashem below through his sowing by bringing a gift. That would be the sowing, the Hamshach. Masha Enke in Hevel, as opposed to Hevel. He was totally staying away from evil, totally. Hashem turns to Hevel Minchosei because he had the Sur Meira, he had the Charisha. That is his Charisha. So now we'll also understand by the future. It says Bechorish ubakotzir tishbos. By la'osid lavai, it says you'll rest. You won't plow and you won't cut. which means you won't need to plow anymore. There's not going to be evil to need to plow. That the spirit of impurity I'm going to remove from the land. So there's going to be no reason. The whole reason we have to plow is to get rid of the Ruach HaTumah. So also it says that tzaddikim, you will say before them Kodesh. Why will you say in the future for them Kodesh? Because since they're mamshich the level of Kodesh, I know, al yidei shemamshichim, oirin sof baruch hu shu Kodesh umuvd lamato. Since they are mamshich, the oirin sof, which is Kodesh umuvd below. So you say for them Kodesh, because here we have the Ein Sof. So basically, what he's telling you is that you have the Zriya. The Zriya adds to the Gilu Ein Sof. The Yidden were brought down into this world to do the mitzvahs maisius, and through the mitzvahs maisius, you have the matzmiach, you have the growth. However, before you have the growth, you also have to have the charisha, to soften the ground, and you have to be able to stay sur meira, to stay away from evil. And only after you have the staying away from the evil, then you have the chorish, then you have the zriya. But la'osid, which there's not going to be any more ra, so b'chorish b'kotzir tishbos. And the tzaddikim will say for them, will be said for them kodesh, because they are mamshich, the Ein Sof, the Tainug, the Ashur, Asher Kiddishonu, that's what they're mamshich, the Tainug Elyon, the Ein Sof in Elam Hazeh. And then this the Alter Rebbe is going to use to explain further on, that brings the level of Neshamas Yisrael even higher than Torah, because of their ability to be mamshich, also below to that level. That's why it is a higher madrege, as we will continue Be'ezus Hashem tomorrow.